Hey everyone, name is Matt Rucinski. I'm going to show you guys how to wrap an entire paddle from start to finish after you open a brand new paddle. So I'll be going through the handle wrapping, the lead tape. I'm not exactly sure what this is called, but this keeps the overgrip connected to your paddle. It'll be more so up here. Lead tape will be towards the bottom here of the paddle. The link will be in the description on all the information of what lead tape does for you, in addition to an overgrip, and I'll walk through the reasons I use electrical tape on the top as well as over the lead tape. So the first thing I do is take the paddle, I'm going to put it in between my legs, and I'm going to be wrapping the handle with the overgrip. So this is the overgrip that I get from Amazon. Link will also be in the description. And I pulled one out just for convenience purposes for the video. So there's only one side that's actually usable. That side is protected by this really thin, you're not going to be able to see it on the camera, but it's a protective plastic layer. That is the layer that your hand is going to be touching. So your paddle hand is going to be touching the side that's protected by this piece of tape. Very important. If you do decide to get this type of overgrip, there will be a little piece of clear two-sided tape at the end. It's really nice and convenient. It keeps it in place at the top part here at the handle. You'll see later on once I'm done wrapping it. It stays in place to put this kind of final layer of tape on to hold the overgrip over the undergrip on your paddle. Next common question is, how do you know which way? Does it go this way? Notice the V is kind of going, trajectory is down, or if it's kind of going up. And the answer is every single time, if you look at this paddle, you want the top part to be I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this on camera. So you'll notice that the V is trending upwards. That's what you want to do while looking at the paddle. So again, the protective layer, the piece of clear plastic was on the top part. So that is going to be on the exterior part of the grip when I start to do the overgrip. Because again, that is what is going to be in contact with your hand. So now I'm applying a little bit of tension while wrapping it to keep it nice and tight while I'm going around the base of the paddle. And once you get it started, it's really easy to keep going, but until you get that first circle complete, you really have to hold the entire first circle of the base with that foregrip consistent until it starts holding itself onto the undergrip. Now, depending on how thick you want to keep this overgrip, you want to try to keep the segments between each layer as consistent as possible. It'll feel the best in your hand if it is kept at an even distance apart. I'll show you a closer up of what I mean by this, but there's really no reason to rush this. I see a lot of other people rushing this part, and then their grip just turns out not really consistent, in my opinion. So you can decide to pull tight or just kind of keep it on if you want it to be a little bit looser. This is more of a personal preference, but definitely keeping it consistent. I don't know really a reason why people wouldn't want to keep this part consistent. So that's why I would recommend keeping those segments as close as possible in terms of distance away from each other that you possibly can. So you'll notice that I'm going to go above the electrical tape that from the factory it comes from, and that's because I use a double hand backhand and I want additional grip higher up than where the paddle hand, the handle, I'm sorry, on the paddle allows for. So you'll see right here that I'm going now beyond this black electrical tape, and I'm going to continue going farther. So you'll see almost a full widthwise, I guess, of this overgrip on top of this electrical tape that comes from the factory. And you're going to actually see me start bending it around where the throat is. So I have more grip for my offhand from my double hand backhand. Again, personal taste and preference, however you want to do it here. But also, this allows me to not have to cut it at the end as well. So if you decide to copy me and do the exact same thing, double backhand or not, you have to pull really tight to make sure that this is consistent. And this part is not easy because this is not how the paddle is designed. So what I said earlier was there's a double-sided tape, which is what you're about to see come into play right here, and why it's so nice for these overgrips is once you get all the way to the top here, or whenever you decide to stop, if you wrap it tight enough, if your segments are close enough to each other, you're going to be able to use this piece of two-sided tape, and actually it'll stick onto itself, and then it makes it really easy to put this over the top of the overgrip that will then attach to the paddle. So that's what I'm about to peel off right now, is this really thin piece of protective layer for the adhesive for the other side. That's going to go directly on the overgrip itself. Again, keeping the tension very tight throughout this entire time. Otherwise you're going to have wrinkles. And then you'll see that it goes right onto itself, and actually it would just technically stay like this. But the reason that this is here is to put an extra level of reinforcement, and that extra side of tape is really just to give you easier access to do this. There's a lot of overgrips out there on the market that don't give that two-sided that tape, that feature, and it makes it really hard because you have to keep pressure on it the entire time, then take this out if you're doing it yourself. It's just a mess in comparison to this one. So I really, really like that they have that feature for this overgrip specifically. Again, the link will be in the description for this overgrip to Amazon. So this, you will have kind of like a little square, same concept. It just makes it easier to pull off this piece of protective layer, which then this part is the sticky part, which will be attaching to itself after it wraps around. And this is an important piece of information as well. Not only the overgrip itself, but also you want to attach it to the paddle. If you just do the overgrip, you're then forcing the overgrip to hold itself in place rather than having the plastic, which ain't going to move at all. And you want to have a little bit of overlap, like I said, from overgrip to the plastic part. So that's what I'm about to do now. And where you start this is where the double-sided tape left off. And you also go the same direction that it's going, just in case if it starts to slip or it doesn't hold itself very well, hot day, what have you. If you go at the same, so like for instance, my grip is going this way, right? Around. So I'm going to continue to do that as well, as if this was just an extension of the overgrip. So it ended right here. Again, I'm going to put a little bit of overlap onto the piece of plastic and the paddle. So you'll see that just a little bit. And I'll give you another angle right here. And now I'm going to again keep it pretty tight, and I'm going to keep it consistent around the entire thing. So a little bit's going to be on the overgrip, a little bit's going to be on the plastic part, which is part of the paddle itself. Oop. And you're going to want to push it on as much as you possibly can. It's not going to look the prettiest for mine, only because I go way beyond where the handle normally goes. So you'll see a little riffles and that kind of stuff wherever, but that's typical for anybody that does put more of the overgrip onto the actual kind of throat of the paddle itself. But that's what it'll look like at the end. And you will hopefully be able to see the overlap on the paddle and the overgrip itself. So now the handle is complete, and to take it a step back is when I was doing the overgrip itself, you'll kind of see a pretty uniformed distance between each of the layers when I was taking the overgrip